Bunuelos yeast or yeast donuts. Now these are the donuts the little kids would go around their neighborhoods or villages with a roasting pot on top of their heads selling these donuts. They're sprinkled with cinnamon and sugar and so delicious. Here I've got my water, or my sugar rather, adding some warm water. Just stir to dissolve. Sprinkle the yeast in. Alright, you would just let this sit for a few minutes and then stir it to dissolve. Set it in a cold oven for about 15 minutes. So while the yeast is proofing, you can work on the second mixture. In a separate bowl, I've got 2 beaten eggs. Add your sugar. Melted butter, I've got some warmed olive oil, whole milk, and evaporated milk. Oops. And little by little. Once the yeast is ready, we'll combine the 2 mixtures and then add the flour. Here I've got my yeast. You can see it has proofed quite a bit. Nice and bubbly. And we will add our butter, milk, oil, sugar mixture. Again, this is my mother-in-law's recipe, Doris Kennelly. It's the best donuts I've had. Combine completely, and then we'll add the flour. Now you're going to use all of the 9 cups of flour. Alright, let's start with half. And then we can pour the remaining in. You're going to form a slightly sticky dough. My neighbor in Jigo, when I was growing up, made some good donuts too, and she used a biscuit cutter to shape it as opposed to rolling it out into a rope. So good. I did try to make this once or twice in my college years, or post-college rather. I was at a Guam Liberation celebration in Germany. Actually, it was Miss Agata Johnson that, well, my friend Agata Johnson's grandmother that brought the donuts to the party. And she gave me a recipe, but again, it wasn't exact measurements. And add the rest of the flour. I do miss those days on Guam where the kids would go around the neighborhoods and sell donuts, empanada. You didn't have to drive anywhere. You know, this is the big reason I'm doing all this work, is to help preserve, you know, our culture and share with people how to make the foods that we're used to, you know, growing up, that really, especially for us, the Chamorros, it's food, family, and friends, right? You know, we really can't live without our food, so to speak. It's so much of who we are, and you know, as the years go by, if we don't share our so-called secrets, you know, how are we going to pass it on to our children, and how are they going to pass it on to their children? You know, so if you have a better recipe than what I'm sharing, I hope that you would give it to others. Alright, this dough has come up nicely. It's a little sticky, and as the dough proofs, it will become less sticky, so. Alright, let's clean up the sides a little bit. Alright, we're ready to let this just sit for about 45-60 minutes until it rises. I will go ahead and cover this with some saran wrap that has been sprayed with pan spray and put it in my oven, a turned off oven, to let it rise there. Okay, so here's the dough after an hour. Save this here. Okay, you just go ahead and hunch it down. It did rise quite a bit. Okay, and then we'll just flip it over just for the looks. Cover it loosely, just set it on top, and it goes back in the oven for another hour. Okay, here's our dough after a little longer than an hour. Just punch it down. It deflates quite a bit. Okay, then we'll pull off pieces and roll them out to form our donuts. Alright, so here is how I keep my donuts the same size. I'm using 1/3 of a cup. I just fill it up with some dough. There, okay? And then you're going to divide it in half and roll it out. So flour your surface a little bit, just a little. One roll out. Go at the ends, twist and squeeze. Okay, and you set this on a cookie sheet that's been sprayed with Pam a little bit. We'll go one more time. Flour. Okay. Twist and squeeze, and of course you've got your oil heating up. Okay, so here's my setup, and in a minute I'll show you how we start to fry the donuts. But I've got my donuts frying, a plate for the tongs, colander, a bowl of sugar and cinnamon, a wire rack for the cooked donuts, and then the uncooked dough at the far end. Alright, you just lay the donut right in, and it floats immediately. Well, I can fit in 4 to 5. Remember, these expand, so you don't want to crowd your oil too much. Alright, and it'll start to brown. Brown a little bit at the bottom, then you can flip it over to the other side. When you're rolling out the dough and pinching the ends together, you need to really pinch and secure it. You know, it'll unfold a little bit as it cooks, but that's okay. They're not browning as fast as, say, Bunuelos agate, but it will brown, and you flip it over. Alright, so they've lightly browned, and you just flip them. Okay, and it'll cook to a darker color. And then you can coat one or both sides in the cinnamon sugar. To me, if you do both sides, that's a lot of sugar. It's really sweet, so I try to do one side for some of the donuts. Okay, we'll let this cook to a nice dark brown. Okay, our donuts are done. Into a colander they go, and then sugar and cinnamon. Okay, so our sugar, one side, flip it over on the cooling rack. And we are done.